everybody, and welcome back to another Kings of War battle report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Elves versus the Trident Realm. This battle is, of course, a continuance of my preparation for the Emerald Dragon GT, so it is a 1950-ish point battle with some special dragons, and the scenario this time around was loot. So first off, we see my opponent's army, which opens with a regiment of Naiad Heartpiercers, a horde of Placoderms with the Healing Brew, 2 hordes of Naiad Worm Riders, Ector, Nikushi, the Siren, 2 Knuckers, and the Kraken. This list was backed up by the Special Dragon Nyx, which of course you've seen as it's what I run in my elf list. So yeah, no real reason to talk about that dragon. But for the list, I think it's interesting. I'm not gonna pretend like I really get it. I don't get the regiment of Heartpiercers, really, but you know, they work for my opponent, and it's just I think it's just a style thing. I personally probably wouldn't run Nikushi. If I was gonna run Nikushi, I'd probably swap Nyx out for Imraloth and really abuse that stealthy and heal gain, right, combination. But you know, again, it might just be this is the bag of things that I know the best how to use, and I'm going to put them in the army. So anyway, otherwise, I think the list is really good. Placoderms are a very, very tough unit. So let's move forward onto my elf army, and this is the same one I've been running lately, which starts with 2 hordes of Kindred Archers, one of whom has the Heart-Seeking Chant and one has the Chant of Hatred, 2 regiments of Forest Shamblers, a horde of Draken Riders with the Brew of Strength, a regiment of War Chariots with Fire Oil, an ASB with Diadem of Dragonkind and a mount, an Elven Mage with Alchemist Curse 10 and a mount, 2 Elven Princes, both of whom are mounted and have Saber-Toothed Pussycats, and finally a Tree Herder with Blessing of the Gods and Blizzard 2. I of course backed this list up with Nyx, and I'm sort of settling into a comfort zone with it. I still make mistakes while playing it, as it's not really, you know, something I'm used to fielding with, especially with this many shots. But yeah, I'm getting used to it. And here we see the table setup for this game. And let's just go over the scenario real quick. Loot is very simple. You have 3 loot counters, so 1 in the dead center, and then each player places 1 loot counter on the center line of the table. You know, more than 12 inches away from each other, more than 3 inches away from objectives, or from impassable terrain. So we've got the center one. I believe I placed this objective in the middle of the hills, since my opponent is playing Trident Realm and there's a lot of forests on this side of the table, which I'll go over in a second. But and then my opponent places one, I believe it's right here. So right here is the other loot marker. So yeah, it's very simple. At the end of the game, each loot counter is worth 1 VP. Holding a loot counter gets you that, right? So the person with the highest VP wins. It's super simple. Let's talk about the terrain real quickly. So in the bottom right corner, we have a height 2 hill, I believe. Then we have right here 2 height 6 forests. So we've got a double forest going on right here. Then right above it in the right hand corner in the top, we've got a height 6 forest, which is just one piece. Over here more centrally, we've got again 2 height 6 forests just next to each other. Over here we have a height 4 impassable. Above that, I believe we were running this as a height 0 or height flat rough terrain. And then we've got 1 more height 2 hill on the left, another height 2 hill, these hobbit holes, and finally I am in a height flat piece of difficult right here. So the terrain for this game, I mean, we're playing on a lava mat. We're at a game store that has essentially 0 terrain for any sort of a fantasy game. It's all just 40k and yeah, but the space was pretty good, so it was fun to play there. But yeah, if you're gonna play up in Everett at Mugu Games, make sure you bring your own terrain. So yep, let's go over the list themselves. I think I've got some pictures this time. I do. So starting out, we have my opponent's first horde of Worm Riders. Next to it, this is their Nyx. It is on a 50 by 100, which is, oh no, I'm sorry, this is not Nyx. This is the Knucker, right behind Nikushi, right? Then next to it, this model is Nyx on a 50 by 100, which is wrong, but who cares? It's just not that relevant. Honestly, I look at as a small aside, I look at the exceptional base size rule and I go, if you're gonna let people put their 50 by 50 mil model on a 75 by 75 or on a 50 by 100, or their 20 by 20 on a 25 by 25, so on and so forth, right? Who fucking cares if you put a 75 by 75 on a 50 by 100? Who cares? Right? Like, you've already broken the seal on that, right? Let's just let it go. So anyway, 50 by 100, it's fine. Then in the center table, we see my opponent's Horde of Placoderms with the Brew of Strength. Behind them is the Kraken, and you can't see her at all. Actually, this little area right here, that's her base. That is the Siren hiding behind the Kraken. Then on the far right, my opponent has first the Regiment of Heartseekers in the front, or Heart Piercers. Right behind them is Ector. Right here is the Horde of Worm Riders, and then finally the second Knucker. So a bit of a split deployment where my opponent has put, sort of 3 lanes, Dota style, or Defense of the Ancients. So it's interesting. And for the Elf deployment, we've got the Horde of Draken Riders with the Brew of Strength over here on the left. We've got the first Horde of Archers with the Chant of Hatred. Right in front of them, this is the ASB with Diadem Dragonkind and a mount, obviously. To the right of the ASB, we've got Nyx herself. Then we've got 2 regiments of 4 Shamblers. Behind them, this is my wizard with Alchemist's Curse. This is one of the mounted princes, and here's the second mounted prince. So as you can see, we're getting the basing done as well, getting ever closer to this army being finished. Then we've got the regiment of chariots with fire oil, the second horde of archers with the heart seeking. Then we have the tree herder all the way on the left. So that's it for the elf deployment. Let's go into turn 1. And I'm going to just, right before I get into my opponent's movement, go into how I deployed my army and what was the plan, right? So on the left here, my opponent had deployed this whole area and was obviously pushing like, the Worm Riders went down, and I think one of the monsters went down. Maybe Nakushi went down, and I went, yeah, so this is a no-go zone, since I wanted to be on this side of the table with the hills, while my opponent wants to be over here. So I think the idea was to deploy a decent speed contingent to make it so I'm not going to put my archers over here. So pretty smart there. And after I had dropped this horde of archers into this rough terrain, because it was a good spot for them, I then counter deployed by just putting my whole army on the right and just putting the tree herder over here. And the idea here was that the tree herder can probably take a charge or 2. It's hard to get actually through a tree herder. I'm sacrificing my blizzard a bit, but I'm not too worried about it. I should be able to get a shot or 2 in. And generally speaking, the tree herder gets that turn 1, maybe turn 2 blizzard, and then the other blizzards I get in the game are more opportunistic, where I don't have to run in with my monster and fight. I can just fire blizzard real quick. So that's how I use it. And that's the plan here. So I vanguarded forward to be not quite 50% on this hill, since we're running the entire base as the hill, just to give myself cover, just in case. I mean, there's nothing... Oh, Nyx can shoot, but Windblast does not care about cover. So yeah, just move forward a little bit there, and everything else vanguards forward. I did make a minor mistake here, or a very aggressive play that I didn't need to in a list like this, which is I vanguarded forward with my Shamblers here into base-to-base contact with the loot token, meaning that if I win the roll-up or my opponent makes me go first, I can just grab the loot and then on the next turn walk back. But there's no reason to do that, right? I can always just move forward, so I should be in the trees. I was kind of thinking it was is it Scavenge, the mission where it's an objective marker that you go and touch, and then if you control an objective marker, then you get a loot token out of it. So yeah, just a misplay by me. So anyway, let's talk about my opponent's turn now. So yeah, mostly we're just moving forward with stuff. So we've got the Worm Riders on the left, moving forward and taking the hill here, while the triple monster threat just moves into range of my tree herder, because they plan to just wind blast it back a little bit, and then not be within the line of sight of my archers. So I will have to turn if I want to shoot at them. So that's the plan. and a pretty solid one at that. These placoderms are not, they are not here. My opponent has moved them forward into these trees, but yeah, again, this terrain not built for actual gameplay in my opinion, because these trees don't lift. I mean, I guess if you're playing, it's the curse of true line of sight, which is a terrible rule. But with true line of sight, the trees need to be where they need to be, and because of that, you can't actually fit stuff, right? So it's just kind of annoying. So anyway, the placoderms are somewhere in these trees, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, but they wouldn't come off, so they had to be placed aside. The Kraken just pulls back, it looks like, and I'm not sure where the Siren went. I know she's around here, but I'm not exactly sure where. The Heart Piercers decide to, I believe they moved forward, or maybe they moved forward a little bit because I'm just out of 18. I wasn't that bad at the game. While Ector moves to touch the Forestier so he can see my Tree Herders, and they're just both going to fire into me and also get that Wind Blast back. Ector, still in my opinion, the best character in the game. So good. The Worm Riders decide to back up because there's no real reason to engage just yet, and I think that's a sign of a good player, right? Some nice KG play there. And let's go into, here is the action shot of just, here's the placoderms. Look at them, just really taking that tree over. So anyway, here's the action shot. My opponent, as I said before, shoots into the tree herders, or the shamblers, pushes them back, ends up doing 4 wounds to him, which is, I'm sorry, it does 2 wounds to him. I remember this now because, no, it is 4, sorry. Both these units do 2 and 2. All the units, I think at least this turn, my opponent just does 2 wounds on every roll, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, 4 wounds to these, which is unfortunate for me. And then the Nyx fires into my tree herder, knocks me back a fair distance, but I just ram into my archers, and then does 2. Actually, did I mess that movement up? No, that's correct. Okay. Kind of looked like I had messed the angle on the tree herder, but I did not. So yeah, Nyx ends up doing 2 damage to my tree herder, which could be relevant just because these units have such high. It's a this is what, Thunder 3, and then Thunder 1, Crush 1, Thunder 1, Crush 1, and then Thunder 2. So it's just enough damage that I don't want to be sitting on 2, right, at the beginning of the game before doing anything. So yeah, I probably could have played that a little bit better, but still, here we are. I had to put enough bait on this side of the table to make it so that these would engage, right? I want them to engage and not just grab loot and just spin around, right? My tree herders just, I'm just hoping that it can hold up for more than 1 or 2 turns here. And 2 damage is not great for that. But here we go with Elf turn 1. So Elf turn 1, the tree herder just, I believe just rights itself. Yeah, it's just facing like this now. It looks like I did mess up that. I must have messed this up. Because there's no, it looks like, oh no, I see what happened here. This just looks weird because all this terrain's a lava terrain. This tree herder decided to right itself, although I believe it's facing this way. And these archers moved forward, right? So that's what happened there. The chariots just spin around to make it so if someone wants to charge the tree herder, no, the tree herder is facing this way. Excuse that. Because if someone wants to charge the tree herder, the chariots can get a counter charge here, a pretty decent one. And the tree herder moved, so the archers moved forward, right? While the tree herder just pivoted because I wanted to, or the archers move. No, this is wrong. I definitely messed this up because there should be a very small gap as I hit the archers with my corner. Right, so there should be a bit of a gap between these two. I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, it must have just got knocked. I mean, this piece of terrain is pretty bad. It just slides across the table. So anyway, sorry about that. The archers, it looks like they decided not to move as... Oh no, they must have moved so I could get one side. Whatever happened, happened. Let's just move on. The point is the archers are a bit farther forward because these units are not within charge range of the archers. Of the flank there, and on top of it I've made it so only one of these 50 mil frontages are going to be able to charge into the front of the tree herder, because the tree herder is a 50, right, and there's no corner, right, and all of these are it might not look like it, but all their leader points are in my front, or they cannot make it, right? So that's the point. I believe this Nucker is slightly out of range, and then Nikushi and Nyx are slightly in. So anyway, that's the point there. On the right side of the field, I moved these Shamblers. I'm just sort of fixing some of my deployment mistakes here. These Shamblers probably should have been over here, and the Chariot's over here, but I'm not sure exactly what to do. This is probably actually a Vanguard mistake. I should have Vanguarded this way. But yeah, so I'm fixing that now and just going this way. The Placoderms are still up here in the trees, but they only charge 8 inches, so they're not within charge range. I move most of my characters forward. The Wizard here is moving to get an Alchemist Curse going on, just in case. I might Alchemist Curse, I might heal. We'll see, right? And then my Prince moves forward just to get ready, as does the other Prince. Nyx again moves forward to get that Wind Blast going, and these Shamblers just move back into the trees as they should have been in the first place. My ASB moves forward, and the point of this is that the Heart Piercers can't see the ASB. Even if they move at their max distance, they're not going to be able to see past my guys here, the Dragon Riders. This Knocker, I think my opponent had decided that it was also misdeployed, so it's facing like this. Originally I was like, ooh no, I don't want to, don't want to get charged by this Knocker, so I spent a lot of time on this movement, making sure that there was, this is smaller than 50 mil, so it can't just thread the needle and come into my ASB, but then my opponent's like, nah, it's facing like this. So yeah, can't be facing me. Anyway, and then on the far right, my archers moved to take the hill here. This is, I actually wanted them to be up here, so this is a good move, I think, by me. And you might be like, yeah, you moved your archers onto the hill, woo. But, sometimes you gotta celebrate when you didn't mess up a deployment. So anyway, moving forward to the no action shot, I believe, in this turn, and just the, yes, this is just the end of turn shot, unfortunately. So in the middle here, you can see that I popped Nikushi with a pretty good roll here. I had 8 shots on 6s, 20 shots on 6s, and then Blizzard, right? And between all that, I did an okay amount of damage to Nikushi, and then I just rolled lights out. I believe it was a 10 into a 10, and I think she's a 15-17. That or a 14-16. And yeah, I got a good roll, pop Nikushi. That's a big boon, obviously, for me. And also did some okay damage onto these Placoderms. Looks like I did 6 damage to them, and that was a mixture of Alchemist Curse and Nyx. And now I pushed them. Oh no, I couldn't push them back. You might be able to see this bit of a standard here. That's the Siren who's directly behind them. But yeah, I was just looking to get some pip damage onto them. So moving forward to turn 2. So turn 2 for the Trident Realm, it's still a very movement-heavy game at this point. So first off, on the left, we have my opponent's Knocker just coming around the flank, getting ready to charge around. Not a whole lot I can do about that besides maybe turn entirely with some of these guns and try to shoot it down. But there's a lot to deal with here, so not sure how viable that is. And then the Nyx decides to not charge in, since now Nikushi's dead. There's only a solo charge anyway. Nyx is significantly better at shooting, unlike most dragons in the game. With only 7 attacks and Thunder 2 with no crushing, she does have Brutal, so that's good. But yeah, much better with that Pierce 2 Wind Blast than anything else. So just getting ready for that, while the Worm Riders move barely within range of my archers, well within range of my Tree Herder, but barely within range of my archers for that charge. In the middle, the Placoderms move forward, just threatening my lines, while the Knocker decides that I've actually gone, he had overcorrected, turns back around to mess with my army, along with the Kraken, and of course the Heart Piercers. I believe they just stayed still, as did the Worm Riders, and I think Ector moved. You can see him just a little bit. He's right behind this tree, just staring me down, looking to just shove them back a little bit, or maybe pull them forward, who knows, along with the Siren. So here is the action shot. Yeah, this one from the right flank. Yeah, there you can see Ector just cowering behind a tree. And here is the end of turn. So first off, my opponent decides with the Siren to pull my Dragon Riders to disorder them. So pretty good move, but pulls them 7 inches, I believe. So I think Siren Skull is like a 8 or something. I want to say it's 8. I can't remember exactly, but pulls me almost max distance and right into these trees. I have to actually stop to not hit Ector. So then Ector decides, well, I'm not going to push them, back away. So instead shoots into, I believe, Nyx for essentially no damage. But yeah, it happened. And then, oh no. Yes, shot into Nick. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Shot into these archers because with a decent roll, Ector could have actually shoved me off the hill, but these hills are so large, it would have had to be very high, but does get a couple damage onto them, so that's good. And otherwise, it's a kind of a meh turn. Nyx decides to shoot into these archers, does 2 or 3 wounds, but does not get the boxcar needed. My opponent does pop the healing brew after I remind him, and gets 2 off of, so down to 4 wounds, pretty good value. And I think that's about it. So no loot counters just yet, we're just doing some positioning first. And here we go with Elf turn 2. So Elf turn 2, first off, I pivot my archers right around, well, I move with my chariots so that I can pivot my archers. I pivot my archers to be facing down the table. The Worm Raiders are now out of range, so I can only be charged by Nyx and the Knucker if they want to. I move the Tree Herder in front of my chariots, and I had a plan here that I'll go over during my opponent's turn, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. So I move the Tree Herder. I believe I just shuffled over here, and then, or maybe I just moved and turned. I can't remember exactly, but I gotta do a better. Whenever I do the basing for this thing, I'm gonna do something a bit more indicative to show off where the front is, since it's just a pile of twigs. But yeah, so I know right now it's facing this way, and just getting ready to fight. I believe it's just out of 12 inches to blizzard here if it wants, or it can blizzard the Knucker, which is the more likely one. I move the chariots, as I said before, just getting ready for a counter charge. And then my shamblers here just roll right on past the placoderms. So they're currently just barely out of its line of sight, and then can grab a loot token. After that, I decide to move a prince right in front of the placoderms, just because slowing down a slow unit is just doubly effective. It gets them trapped for longer. I move them here also because I could, with my cat, I can decide to shoot the Kraken, I can shoot the Siren, I can shoot the Knucker, I can shoot whatever I want. So getting ready for that, and I do the same thing with this prince. I think this prince actually backs up after this, which my opponent graciously let me do. So I'm again within 12 inches of all 3 of these units, but not just so far forward. There's no reason to be forward, basically. I move my wizard just to get that Alchemist Curse going again. Nyx, I believe, is facing like this, just again looking at whatever I can. I'll probably try. Oh no, I do know what I do here. So originally Nyx's plan was just to push the placoderms back, but after my Dragon Riders got pulled that far forward, I had to adjust. So instead, the Dragon Riders decide to back up. They're 5 inches, right? So when I back up 5, I'm still within the charge range of the Knucker here, the Heart Piercers, and the Worm Raiders, and Ector, of course, and also the Kraken, which is too many units. So my plan for this turn is to hopefully kill off this Knucker. It's not that hard, as I do have I have a horde of archers, I have Nyx, I have a breath attack, I have 2 cats, and I have Alchemist Curse if everything goes wrong. So I have a fair amount of shooting, and Knuckers aren't that stable. So hopefully I can get rid of that. And then I need to push back the Kraken 3 inches with Nyx. So again, hopefully I don't need Nyx to deal with this Knucker. But yeah, if I push the Kraken back 3 inches, which Nyx is a Windblast 10, it will not be able to charge into my Dragon Riders at all. So that's what I try to do. That's what I tried to do there. So here is the action shot. Very pretty one, in my opinion, except for the lava table, but I like the rest of it. And here is the end of turn. So on the left, you can see I did actually go after this knucker with all my shooting, but after they gain stealthy, it's actually pretty hard to just shoot them down with conventional means. So I only managed 3 wounds. I don't roll the 10 to waver it, so you can do it at once. And then in the middle, nothing happens because I don't have any shooting left to really target the placoderms after all. Because on the right, I end up killing off this knucker, but I have to use my Alchemist Curse to do it. I use Alchemist Curse and I use my archers, and then I get it to double ones. So yeah, I go for that. Oh no, and I also use the breath attack. So all 3 of these go in there and manage to get the knucker to double ones. Then I am staring at the siren and I'm like, well, I think that's not the next pick. So I throw all my cats at the siren. This one only manages 1 wound, but the other cat does like 7 or some crazy amount. I mean, they're just super spiky. So yeah, I do plenty of wounds to the siren herself and kill her off. And then my Nyx pushes back this Kraken. It actually pushes it back a little too far in my opinion. 3 inches would have been perfect. 4 inches would have been good, and I think I pushed it back 6 or something because I also didn't turn that into many wounds. And well, I mean, it has regen 4+, so it's unlikely because I'm not going to deal with it just yet because stealthy and all that. But anyway, moving on to Trident Realm turn 3. So here is Trident Realm turn 3, and here are the problems. So starting on the left, when I said, oh no, this is whatever. So starting on the left, this is not a problem. This is pretty much what I had planned for. Unfortunately, it's just the best what I had, which is the Worm Riders get into the Tree Herder. I don't think that they'll be able to take it out in one go, and hopefully I can last for at least 2 turns. That would be ideal. And then I've got the Knucker going into my archers. That's just unfortunate, as it's just that fishing for 6s, or as I was doing, fishing for 4s on my Blessing of the Gods blizzard here, but wasn't able to manage it, so got into my archers, and then Nyx decides to just charge right on into my chariots, and this is probably a good idea, maybe a bad idea, probably a good idea though, because otherwise I can countercharge along with the Tree Herder into these Worm Riders, and maybe just one-shot them. So yeah, Nyx going in here is a solid plan. Then in the middle, something unfortunate happens, which is because Nyx pushed back this Kraken a little too far, and again with Wind Blast and less so with Surge, but sometimes with Surge as well, you can push your enemy back into places where you go, oh no, because a new charge shows up. And after I pushed the Kraken back, I pushed it back into charge arc of my Prince, and now this Kraken and these plaques can double charge my Prince, and that slides the placoderms down enough to get an easy flank into my Shamblers. So, just the worst. Hoisted by my own petard, by my own Wind Blast in this case. But anyway, so hopefully, my opponent double ones that Prince, and then everything's fine. On the right, you can see the Worm Riders and Ector do take the charge on the Dragon Riders. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting the Siren to pull me forward this far, but yeah, happens. So this is the best charge I could hope for, because Ector 1 does not have Pathfinder, so, only hitting me on 4s right now, and the Worm Riders were going to get that charge anyway after that epic pull and disorder, so meh. Happens. And that's about it. So let's see the action shot. Yeah, just showing down this line. And here is the end of the turn. So starting on the right, the Worm Riders do attempt to kill off the Tree Herder. They do pretty well. They do 6 wounds to me. I think that's about average, maybe a little above, because they've got 18 attacks. 18 attacks translates to like 12-ish hits, and then yeah, that's 6 wounds, so that's completely average. Getting me to 8. Thankfully, do not get a waiver. Almost get it with needing a 10 there, but don't manage it in the end. Then Nyx goes into my chariots and does a a few wounds, but again, Nyx is just not that great of a combatant, so not enough to kill me off. And then pushes the 1 inch back, and then this Knucker does, again, a couple wounds to my archers, but does not get the boxcar needed to waver me. Now the middle, obviously, is a little different. First off, we got the Placoderms, just the Placoderms plus this Kraken deciding to kill off my prince. Then the Placoderms overrun into the flank of my Shamblers, and they kill them, and now he has a loot token. So, oof, just bad planning by me with that Wind Blast. The Kraken just decides to fall back into the woods, so seems like an ideal place for that Kraken to end up. Then we've got, although this is also wrong, this must have been knocked because my prince, is it wrong? Hold on. So my prince is like this. Yeah, so this Kraken should be like this in the woods, and instead ends up like this, right? So it just must have been knocked around. Whatever, doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. We just we just couldn't fix it, or didn't notice. And then on the far right, you can see my opponent manages to not kill off my Draken Riders, which is huge. But does get a waiver on them, which is also pretty huge. Oh no, doesn't get a waiver. I don't know what this blue token is, because they're not wavered, they're just disordered. So yeah, my opponent does not get the kill there, just disorders them, which is enormous. That is big news. So very, very excited about that. And yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, my opponent does decide to take some pot shots onto, I believe, this prince with the heart piercers. Does not do a whole lot. And here is elf turn. Is this the elf turn? Yes, it just looks so similar. This is the end of elf movement on turn 3. So starting on the right this time, the Draken Riders countercharge into Ector because it's the best chance they have. I probably should, well, so here's my plan, is that I can hit Ector with the Drakens, and then hopefully I can just kill these, right? Or disorder them, waver them. That's all I really need. But then I realize because of this overrun, that's just not going to be in the cards. I need Nyx and the Alchemist Curse to deal with the Placoderms right now. So I can't really deal with the worms just yet. So I'm just going to have to lose the Draken Riders, and I decided to go into Ector anyway, as he's the most likely to kill. And I had enough wounds on me already that even if I strip the Thunderous Charge from the Worm Riders, they're gonna kill me anyway. So even though Nyx has that -1 crush bubble, so be 3s and 5s, I'm already, I think I have 10 damage on me. So just too many. So anyway, I go for Ector there. Maybe a mistake, but it's what I do. This prince decides to charge into the Heart Piercers just to turn off their shooting for now. And then yeah, these archers have just moved. I think they moved last turn onto the hill, or maybe they just stayed still. They don't really need to move because they're still on the hill. So they're gonna shoot into the Worm Riders. My ASB is shooting at the Worm Riders, and then Nyx and my Sorceress going for the Placoderms. Now the unfortunate thing here is on the left. So this is not where, this is after the Tree Herder is charged, obviously. But if we roll a picture back, it might look like the Tree Herder can just barely see Nyx, but I actually just barely can't. And I could have moved my chariots slightly farther forward and made that happen for real. But which was my intent, but I just didn't measure it well enough. I eyeballed it. So yeah, should have planned that just a little bit better, because threatening Nyx to go, if you go into the chariots and don't kill them, I will flank charge you with a Tree Herder and kill you, is significantly better than just taking front charges all day with my Thunderous troops. But anyway, it's what ends up happening. The chariots do countercharge Nyx, hoping to just ground it. My archers countercharge the Knucker because of they've got nothing better to do, hoping to strip the Thunderous there. The Tree Herder goes into the Worm Riders. Not expecting much here, but yeah, a lucky waiver would be huge. So that's about it, and here is my action shot. Yeah, just this ASB facing down the Worm Riders, pretty cool. And here's the end of the turn. So things go pretty well for after all said and done. Starting with the shooting, we I start with the wizard here. I also moved it just in case Nyx rolled something crazy, right? Like 10 hit, 10 wound. I could have gone for a heal instead on either of these units. So maybe even the tree herder, but yeah, it doesn't quite do that. Nyx does do very well here. I end up getting like 5 or 6 wounds with Nyx, which is great. I go for the alchemist curse and I do like 7 or 8, which is amazing. So these guys are pushed into a fairly low. I think I needed an 8 to wave it, so they're on 4 wounds. I think they're a 21-23. They're either a 21-23 or a 20-22. So I either get them to 12 wounds or to 13 wounds. So I either do what is that, 8 or 9 wounds to them, needing an 8 or 9 to get that waiver. So I do manage to get that waiver right now, which is big news, I believe. So yeah, that's hot. With my chariots, I do 1 wound to Nyx, which is pretty cool. You know, it's grounded, no more thunderous. Might take an extra turn to kill my chariot. Wait, do I waiver these? I thought I wavered them, but I guess we'll see in another turn. I think I wavered them. Nyx, I do not waver. Well, Nyx is -17, so it can't be wavered. The Worm Raiders actually take a fair amount of damage from my Tree Herder, but it's not marked just yet. So yeah, I do a fair amount of damage here, but they're regen 4+, and I don't know if my Tree Herder is actually going to survive another round, as I don't have my Nyx over here. If my Nyx was over here, they'd be on 3s and 6s, and I think that this would be a lot better. So this is another deployment, maybe a deployment mistake where I should keep Nyx around the Tree Herder, just to really abuse that def 6 in the future. The archers here do not manage to get a wound on that Knucker, and it's super unfortunate because the Knucker has ensnare, so you know it's -1 to hit, meaning I'm only 6s to hit, and I still manage like 6 hits out of my 20 attacks. Pretty nuts. But then the dice pendulum swings the other way, and I cannot translate any of those into a wound on a 4+. So yikes. Still gonna get that thunderous into me. The prince does at least 1 wound to the heart piercers. I'm not exactly sure how many, but it's not enough to waver. Now the big news on the right side is that the ASB and the archers, you know, the archers have cover, or are shooting over cover, managed 10 wounds, and 5 of that was the friggin' ASB, right? Just turning into a Gatling gun here. Managed to get them to 10 wounds, but I cannot translate that into the 5 I need to get a waiver. So I get really fortunate with the hits and wounds, and then, you know, roll that nerve check, and just doesn't matter. So unfortunate there. I don't manage really any wounds to Ector. I mean, I probably do 2 or 3 because I'm hitting on 4s with Elite, and then I'm wounding on 4s as well because I have the Brute Strength, but not enough to kill them off. So anyway, moving forward on to turn 4. So turn 4 for the Trident Realm. Yeah, it looks like I didn't get a waiver, and I did 11 wounds to him, so pretty good. But anyway, alright, I got them to 11 wounds. Is that a D8? Why is he marking 6s? That must be an 8. So that's going to be 13 wounds, meaning I needed either a 7 or 8 to waver. Don't get the waiver. So with that said, they charge into the flank of my chariots, which is unfortunate. There is a fortunate thing in that they have to slide down. Like this rock is not helping them, which is just fortunate for me because most of my combat able troops are really over here. And then everything that's shooting is like speed 9 or a bow, right? So, meh. We've got Nyx charging back into the chariots. We've got the Worm Raiders going back into the Tree Herder, and we've got the Knucker back into my archers here. The only new combat is that the Kraken now joins the fray, getting into Nyx herself, as she has a loot token now. So there's that. The Heart Piercers go into the Prince with a countercharge, and then both these units, Ector and the Worm Raiders, go back into my Draken Raiders, which is not great for them, but we'll see. You know, maybe I can pull my butt out of the fire. And here is an action shot, just showing off. You can actually see the rest of my opponent's normal army, their 2250 army over there. But anyway, here is the end of the turn shot, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. First off, we've got On the right, my tree herder thankfully does not go down here, so that's really good, but does get wavered, so it's probably going to die next turn. This is about what I thought the tree herder would manage, right? On turn 4, still being up, so it'll have to die on turn 5. That's pretty good. I just wish it had managed to kill off more than one unit, right? So it traded off Nikushi, and if it had traded off this Knucker, that would have been amazing, but, you know, at least 3/4 of the way, pretty good. The chariots easily die off to a flank charge from Placoderms and a front from Nyx. That's to be expected. Nyx just turns like so, because it can't really turn much more, and the Placoderms just stay put, because again, there's no reason to do anything, as Nyx ends up being grounded by my opponent's Kraken, so I have no charges into the flank anyway. So yeah, the Kraken grounds Nyx with like 6 wounds, something like that, and the friggin' heart piercers kill off my prince. So I was pretty upset about that. I was like, how dare they, right? They've got 12 attacks on 5s, and I believe they're wounding me on 5s, and then my opponent just rolls lights out for them. So unfortunate, but still kind of funny. So yep, they kill off the prince, and on the far right you can see my my opponent's Worm Riders and Ector do manage to finish off the Draken Riders. So on Elf turn 4, we've got a lot of work to do. So Elf turn 4, I decided to not try to chaff up the Worm Riders with my ASB. I think I need the rally more, or not the rally, the inspiring at this point more than I need to buy a turn for my archers. Plus, as these Worm Riders only managed to regen, I think 3 of the 10 wounds I put on them, they're sitting on 7 wounds. So all my guns, well, my 2, I guess, or no, I've got 3. I've got a wizard as well. All 3 of my guns going right into these Worm Riders, hoping to finish them off, as Ector is not within charge range of these archers. So, yep, that's the plan. And Ector did overrun. It just overran like 2. So, on the right, I decided to back up with my archers because the best case scenario is that I manage to kill the Worm Riders with these 2 units, and then my wizard does not have to go for an alchemist here, and instead alchemist curse these Placoderms dead this time, and then nothing really has a flank charge on me. But the Placoderms, 1, I believe might even be out of 8 for me right now, but the bigger thing is that I backed up so Nyx will also be in my front. So Nyx and the Knucker, if they wish to charge, will be in the front, and Nyx will end up being hindered because of landing in the rough terrain. So yep, just back up. I probably wasn't going to do anything to that Knucker with 20 attacks on 6s and then 4s. So The tree herder just stays put. It can't back up. It could change its facing. There's no reason to, though. So that is about it. So let's go to the action shot. The last stand of the archers here. And here is the end of the turn. Oh, no, here's not the end of the turn. This is after I did get the Alchemist Curse, or do the Alchemist Curse on the Placoderms. This is the first roll. So I roll a 6 and a 1. And then on the reroll, so I had to reroll that because of Inspire, I believe. There's an Inspire around it, right? No, there's no Inspiring. Yeah, so there's no Inspiring over here. And my opponent goes for the 1 in 6 chance of turning that into a double 1, since I had put them to double 1s with my excellent Alchemist Curse. And we roll it, or no, it was a 2 as well, so it's a 1 in 3 to leave them alive. But unfortunately on the reroll I get a 5 and kill them off. So, I mean, unfortunate for my opponent, great for me, definitely necessary. So yeah, that's about it. And with the rest of my turn, so not much happens on the left because that's the only thing I had. On the right, the other things that I wanted to happen happened, which is I kill off the Worm Riders, so that's great. Nyx does not regen, I think, any wounds here, which is unfortunate, but does manage a countercharge into the Kraken and does like 1 wound or 2 wounds or something. Who cares? Number of wounds is what happens there. So yeah, things are looking a little dicey for the Elves. We have not moved forward, but we are currently winning because those Placoderms are dead and I'm the only one of the loot token. So maybe. So moving into turn 5. Turn 5. Yeah, this is the end of turn 5 shot, as the shop was closing when we were finishing this game up, so the pictures are going to come a little fast and loose. So yeah, first off, on the left, You can see the Worm Riders had charged into the tree herder. They do manage to kill it off this time, so that's unfortunate. The Knucker charges back into my archers and again disorders them, but does not waver them. Nyx decides to do what Nyx is good at and move to where you see it. My wizard was here and pushes her like 7 inches out of the woods. Just crazy wind blast, but then only translates it into, I think, 3 or 4 wounds and does not get a waiver. So that's super lucky for me. I really need that Alchemist Curse. I need every ounce of gun I can get out of the game right now. So yeah, I'm glad that that's still operational. The Kraken goes back into Nyx, and fortunately for me again does not manage to kill her off, so that's great. Ector goes into my Gatling gun ASB, just hoping to shut down that stupid Dragon's Breath, or the Diadem, because again with the Diadem, I think I did 5 wounds the first time, and I do like 7 this time into those Worm Riders, so he's like, Ector's done with that. Goes for the charge. Does not kill it and does not waver it, so it could charge into these heart piercers if I want. So yeah, and that is here's the action shot, and here I think this is the action shot for my turn though. So let's go to the end of my turn. Elf turn 5. You can see on the left hand side, I charge the archers into the Knucker here because I don't think there's a reason not to. Nyx cannot see them even when they fall back, because not in this height 6 forest. And then, no, this was not here, was it? This was over here at the beginning of the game, wasn't it? Oh man, the train got so knocked around, I didn't even notice. Whatever happened. Or maybe we moved it, who knows? So it's tree singing, guys. So these guys go into the Knucker, just hoping to do a couple of wounds. It's not the biggest thing. The Worm Riders have actually turned all the way around. On their turn 5, they're actually facing this way because my opponent has realized that, got to grab those loot tokens. So the only thing that can really fight me is this Knucker. So that's it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. The Kraken, or I've sent Nyx back into this Kraken, hoping to, I hope to waver it. I'd love to kill it. That's about it. The Ector, I've hidden the ASB from Ector, so hiding behind Nyx's skirt, as is my right. My wizard just moves forward again, hoping to get a waiver on my opponent's Nyx. I could go for Ector as well here. I can go for either of these, so meh. And then I have my archers just moving, as you can see, getting ready to shoot at Nyx as well, I believe. And here is the end of the turn shot. Doesn't translate too well, but I do pretty well. First off, on the left, you can see my archers. Yeah, no, they just plow right through that that Knucker down there. So again, I need like, I need 6s to hit. No, wait, hold on. I needed 7s to hit because I was charging into terrain. So yeah, no, it was a counter charge. So yeah, needing 6s to hit. I do like 3 wounds to the Knucker, putting it up to 6, and then I just kill it. Easy, easy game. So, or maybe I did 2 wounds. I think I needed a 9 or a 10. Probably a 9 because it's shown down there. So kill off the Knucker, feeling good about that. Kill off the Knucker, feeling good about that. And then I go into Nyx with quite a few shots here. Unfortunately, Alchemist Curse and Alchemist Curse is also modified by Stealthy. So this time around, I fire off, I'm on 5s with these, and on 6s with my archers. So I only managed 7 wounds on Nyx. I need a 10, and I don't get lucky twice in this turn. So unfortunately, Nyx will still be flying about with that stupid loot token. My dragon again does 2 wounds to the Kraken. It's been basically taking 2 wounds and then healing them, so it's still only at 2. I do not get a waiver, but still 2 wounds with Nyx is pretty good against a Kraken, given that I don't have any Thunderous. So yeah. Moving forward to turn 6 for the Trident Realm. You can see I didn't take a picture of the die this time because again the shop was closing. So turn 6, my opponent runs onto this loot token. With the Worm Riders, they are facing like so. I don't know why I drew the whole box. They're facing like so, just to grab that loot. Then Nyx Nyx actually does have this loot token. I'm not sure how it got over there. Oh, it's because Nyx moved. So Nyx decides to just fly into the forest to get cover along with Stealthy. It does nothing against my wizard and ASB, but it does help against these archers, which now do not have to move. So that's a pretty good plan. Speaking of the wizard, Nyx takes aim again and pushes her, I don't know, she goes to space, does enough damage, just kills her off outright. So yeah, you can see it down here. The wizard was at 8 wounds. I think the wizard's a 12. So yeah, it gets that 4 to kill it. And it's gone. Nyx goes into the Kraken goes into Nyx along with Ector, because that's my only loot token right now. So going for the double charge and just barely misses it by 1, and that's, I believe, due to my Nyx reroll. I think I used it here. I either used the Nyx reroll here on Nyx, or I had used it up here to try to get a double 1 or double 1 fishing with my tree herder. It was one or the other, but yeah. Either way, Nyx is not dead, which is big news for me. So Elf turn 6, we're down a loot token. The best thing we can do is, I mean, we could win. We could kill both those units, but we're going to at least go for a tie here. So, that's the end of my slides. Like I said, rush job. But on Elf turn 6, we've got Nyx going back into, I believe I actually go into Ector, because there's no reason to charge the Kraken right now. So I go into Ector. Ector does have 3 wounds on him, so I could kill him off. And I'm just banking on there not being a turn 7, especially as both my opponent and I were like, yeah, we don't have time for a turn 7, so even if we roll it, we can discuss what happened, but we'll see. We've got the archers here just staying put, along with my ASB. I believe, I'm not even sure I moved, really. I think I moved here behind the Kraken to hide a bit more, just to give Inspire to my dragon. And yeah, with all of my archers, so I've got both archer hordes here. They don't have to move. They're both on 6s. So they both have to shoot at the stupid dragon on 6s. And then I've got my my ASB on 5s, and the archers don't do too well. I think these archers only manage 1 wound, but that's not, it's not unheard of, as it's 6s and 5s. I do have rerolls both hits and wounds with the purple unit, but the green unit does manage a little bit better. Nyx has regen 4 wounds off as well, so I had 7 on her. Now she's down to 3. I do an okay amount of damage. I do like 2-ish here, but no, I do not do that. Hold on. Yeah, no, I do. Okay, sorry. So I do like 1 damage here. I do 2 damage here, right? So she's up to 6, and I'm like, well, I need an 11. Except the ASB gets in here and just decides to be a complete champion and does another 4 wounds to Nyx on 5s. So it's completely insane. 5s and 5s to hit, or 5s and 5s with elite. So and then I do manage to roll the 6+ needed to kill Nyx. Got her off the table. We roll to see if there is a turn 7, because then we could discuss it at least. And my Nyx does not kill Ector. That does not happen. I do waver him, I believe, but meh. We rolled up. There is no turn 6, so it ends up being a 1-1 tie. So, woof, what a rough game. My opponent, I think, played very well. It's a difficult matchup. I mean, Trident Realm generally has a hard time with shooting Elfless, but with the terrain on this table, especially given that it was teleporting, but the terrain on this table, beyond just being difficult to put your models on, is just very heavy. And actually, when we were setting it up, my opponent was like, I think the terrain might be a little heavy, but I went, well, I kind of want to practice on that a little bit, just because I'm so focused on shooting that I want to see what a terrain heavy table is going to do to this army. And it did about what I thought it would, which is, it's not entirely crippling, but it's pretty bad. But still managed to, by the seat of my pants, pull this game out. There were definitely some high rolls by me. I know I talked about them. My opponent got some pretty decent rolls there as well. Some high notes and low notes, but I don't remember them as well. So you're not going to hear them in the report too much. But yeah, just a really fun game. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. And until next time, bye.